Hey guys, welcome to Agogi Performance, and today we're going to be doing a review over the 4-post mono from Rogue. So let's get to it. So for those of you that don't know what a monolift is, it is a piece of machinery that allows you to do a squat without having to do the walkout. So the way that works is you adjust the height of the hooks to the height of the lifter, and then once they're set, they get underneath the bar, stand up with it, and then someone else runs the rack, so they lift a lever up that allows the hooks to come out of the way, and then the lifter gets a squat. Once they're done squatting, they stand in place at the top, and then the other person operating the rack pushes the hooks back in, so that way the lifter can put the weight back on the hooks. So you don't see this at too many gyms because, again, it's a very specialized piece of equipment, but it is really nice for people that are either in equipped powerlifting or squat a bunch of weight where it becomes more difficult and borderline unsafe to walk out on their own. So today we're going to dive in deep on Rogue's version of a monolift and some of the things they've done to make it special to their brand, and also just the uses of it altogether. This part holds true for any monolift that you see. So the big thing is when you lift up on this lever, as you can see, the hooks come out due to this counterweight up top. So that way the hooks come out of the way, and then once the lifter's done with the squat, you push this handle back in and it comes back into the latch. Now, one thing I appreciate Rogue did, so when this first came out and they had, so we live in Columbus, Ohio, so I was able to go to the showroom and look at the monolift they used during the Arnold for the strongman competition. One thing I noticed with most monolifts is you're able to push it back in without having to unleash the lever. Now, that was not the case when they made the original one, so whoever was designing this, I appreciate and think they did a good job fixing that problem before they sold this unit. All right, this is the real reason why I wanted the monolift, is the ability to change the height of the bar we're using for that day on the squat. Now, I'll run groups of 4 to 6 people at a time in varying heights, all the way from 5'2" to 6'5". So as you can tell, while using the conjugate method where we use different various bars all the time, it can be very challenging to do that in a normal rig or power rack setup. So the monolift jack kind of helps us with that issue. So if I crank it up all the way to the top, it accommodates my athletes that are 6'5", putting it at the top pin at 32. Now, if I drop it all the way down and let the hooks come down, as you can see in this video, it goes well below my waist, and I'm 5'6". Now, the reason they did some of that is so you could bench press out of that. Now, we are still playing around with that, but we haven't done much benching out of it. It's just mostly been squat. One big thing you'll see that Rogue did differently with their hooks is that it's at an angle, so that way when you have different specialty bars like the cambered bar or a Duffalo bar or something like that, it doesn't slide around from side to side. And also this protective layering of UHMW that helps kind of preserve the bars and the rack over time. So along with the hooks, they're extremely adjustable. So when you look at the top, there's actually measurements from side to side to make sure you put the arms the same distance apart from each other, which, being on a few different types of different monoliths from different companies, I will say that is an extra benefit that I haven't seen anywhere else. And also there's holes where the quick pin release kind of locks into, and then you tighten it down, so that way it's very sturdy and it glides like a dream. Okay, so that way you're not really forcing a lot of energy to just essentially get your lift set right. You're just getting everything dialed into where you need it for yourself or whoever you're training. So another good thing about this monolift is that it's set up like a power rack and still has a very wide sumo base rail with it. So what that does is it allows you to have enough foot placement if you're a really wide squatter. But one other key feature of this is that if you look, I can run my hand underneath it a little bit. So if you use bands, you can actually slide the band underneath it and not have to worry about it coming off of the rack or a band peg while you're squatting. Now that's the other nice thing about this is it still has quite a few holes, so if you do want to get band pegs, I got the monster pegs from Rogue, and they fit in here just fine. Or this monolift actually came with handles to help move it around, which could also serve as band pegs as well. But the thing is, you need to be able to secure those in every time you use it, because they will slide around in here. Now, the other thing too is, so this is suggested to be bolted down, but this thing weighs over 1,000 pounds, and I tried it out with two big blue bands from Elite FTS just to see how it would hold. And as you can see in the video here, it actually held pretty well and it didn't come off the ground. So if anybody that's used a regular monolift, that's a big issue with using really strong bands, is that the monolift will actually flip over if you don't have it anchored to the ground or have some type of weight on top of it, okay? So I've been very pleased with this all around. One thing I would like to see is, since you do have this modular design like a power rack, it would be pretty cool to see some attachments for this, like a landmine or something like that. Even though that's not what it was really meant for, it would be kind of cool to have, because again, this is a $6,000 piece of equipment. It would be nice to have a little bit of variability with it to kind of justify the cost of it. Now, another thing that's really unique to the Rogue monolift versus others is the use of the safety straps here, okay? So you'll see some that have straps that go around the arm of it, and that way the bar doesn't fall to the ground, but it's not the same as having actual spotter straps. So as you can see here, I can just set it up like a regular power rack, and when I fail, I can go into the straps and actually just walk out of it. Now with the straps or having chains around the movement arm, it can be a little bit more difficult to kind of come in and out of it, and also you have to vary the heights quite a bit more. Now the only problem with the way it is set up right now is if you're a squatter that grabs the bar out wide, your hands can get caught on this strap and in the way. Now again, it just depends on the user, but I like this feature myself. We even tried to take it a step further and actually do pin pulls off of it. Now the issue with that was the straps were just hair different lengths from one another. They still fit in the rack just great, but you can tell by the way it was sewn that one side's just a little bit further off. But again, it was pretty minimal difference, so we were still able to lift pin pulls with this. Again, really good feature to have, but just something to be aware of when you do get this product. So as I mentioned before, this monolift comes with 12 of these pins right here, so that way you can pick it up and move it around as such as needed with about 10 to 12 guys to make it easier on yourselves. Now one thing we thought, since we already have the pegs, and tried to do a little bit of different things training wise with them, so we actually use them for isometrics. So as you can see, they just come in real easily like so, and we use them for bench press and deadlift. So in some of the videos you're going to see right here, we kind of pressed into it for about 10 seconds, released it, and went right into our speed work. Just something we're trying out on our own, but you can see, I think it is kind of neat to note that you can do isometric training with this. Now if you're doing a deadlift or a pin pull with it, make sure it's either bolted to the ground or the person who's doing it isn't very strong. So we have a guy that deadlifts over 600 pounds, pull this from the mid-thigh, and almost flipped it. Now again, you may be wondering, well, how was he able to do that? This thing weighs over 1,000 pounds. But keep in mind, most of the weight is towards the front of the rack. So realistically, when he's picking up on it from the back side of it, he's not taking on all that weight. So again, just another feature. It wasn't intended for it, but when you pay $6,000 for something, you kind of want to try to find multiple uses for something. So overall, I think Rogue did a really good job with this monolift, between the quality, the functionality, and just the overall robustness of this thing. I mean, it is massive. So a few things I'd also like to note too is the process of getting this monolift and how it came to be in this gym. So I just recently started my own venture as a Gogi Performance, and I stumbled across a Colossus barbell. So he let me come in here and train people. but I just wanted to get the monolift for myself and be able to train my clients out of that. So the owner was really gracious and let me get the monolift and have it in here in his gym. But there's a few things I had to go through along the way. So I think I started my business about a month before this became available on the website. So it was actually kind of perfect timing for me. So I live in Columbus, Ohio. So I was able to go down to the retail store at Rogue, and spending this kind of money on something, I wanted to be able to talk to somebody in person. So when I ordered it in person, the website said 4 to 6 weeks. Well, as you can see, this is a very big piece of equipment. That kind of came to it as a surprise to me, and what ended up happening was it took significantly longer than that. So I ordered it in August and actually received it sometime in November. So some of the changes they made on the website, I think were because of this monolift, because it was the very first one they sold. So just keep that in mind. If you do order this, it will take some time. So they did change it for the 100-inch one, which I think this is, but if you get the 108 one, I don't think they changed it. I think it still says 4 to 6 weeks on it. So just be careful when you go order it. Now, another thing to consider is this came fully assembled. So when it came ordering day, I got a phone call that they were here. I came down here and they dropped it off in the middle of the parking lot, bringing 2 trucks back to back, and they just wedged the gate down one side at a time until they got it down to the ground. And then once it was down there, they handed me a piece of paper and said, okay, here you go. I can't get this in by myself. Okay. But again, that was because of the freight company. So when you do order this, just make sure you have a bunch of people to help you bring this inside. So luckily, a lot of my clients and the gym owner helped me out bringing this in on a dolly. As you can see in this video, it took us 10 minutes to get it from the parking lot inside the gym here. And originally our thing was we were going to put this in the back room, but we did not realize this came fully assembled. So we called the Rogue team up and said, hey, we thought this came disassembled, but it was fully assembled when we got it here. They said, okay, we'll send a few guys over. So they sent a team down here, and we decided not to put it in the back room, but the team was already here. So they went ahead and helped us put it where it needs to go. So just keep in mind when you do order this, it does come fully assembled, but I will say Rogue's customer service has been really good and really responsive, and also they've just done a great job all around being personal about it and trying to make sure everything is good to go. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I know I didn't get really thorough into it, because we've had this for 3 months and there's a lot to go over. So realistically, I just wanted to ask you guys what you'd like to see out of this video, and I'll make more videos to come about it. So I'll see you guys around, and look forward to what you guys want to see.